got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck.
Give me
Into
that.
the trench. See a lead, be the band.
And welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. I'm here with my co-host, Coach. Feel like it's been a while. I've been chomping at the bit to get to the off-season stuff. I'm excited. Hey, I don't know how you feel, Coach. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to speak your piece, but I'm excited. I feel like the Tigers have an opportunity to kind of continue the little window that they're on of being a playoff team and making moves. But what are your thoughts going into the winter meetings? Are you feeling optimistic? Are you obviously we've got some, the Tigers got some things they need to work on, in the front office. But what are your impressions going into the off season?
Well, I think this is going to be a potentially they can end up coming out of this a few different ways, and I think in each one the avenue is different enough to where it kind of redirects the trajectory of the organization a little bit. With one option, maybe not moving the needle really at all. So, this is going to kind of be Scott Harris's pivotal offseason year in terms of his mark on this organization and what his long-term tenure ends up being, and whether Detroit can potentially become a top 3-4 legitimate AL contender for the next handful of years. So, but lots to talk about in that aspect for sure. Not just today, but the rest of the winter. And there's going to be a lot of speculation, and especially our boy Scooble.
Yes, you said the magic word. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about him, although I don't even want to talk about it. But people wonder, it's like, what? Okay, so the Tigers are not playing baseball right now. What are you so excited about? It's almost as if you've been keeping up on something relevant to the team. And that would be true because we do have some very exciting prospects that are currently participating in the Arizona Fall League. And let's hold on. These are not the guys I want to see. Let's narrow it down to third base because we have two third base. Yes, the one position that the Tigers have not been able to secure a everyday role, and we are steadily looking for that, whether it's going to be through free agency or through our prospects. But we do have a couple guys down in Arizona playing for the Scottsdale Scorpions that are taking some ground balls at third base, and that is Max Anderson and Kevin McGonigal. They continue to excite anybody that's paying attention at all to what's going on in the down on the farm, in the farm system or in Arizona in general. But so Max, hold on.
Mr. Popular. Yeah, just to continue what Foster was talking about, some of these guys down there have been taking reps over at third. That's another thing that I think even a couple weeks ago, I don't think anyone really had a pulse on. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. Not really so much from the offensive side of it, more so the defensive side, how they handle it, how's their range, how's their arm, feel for the position, and kind of go from there. Because if one and or both come to fruition at adding that base as an added position, then things can quickly change this offseason. So we'll see what happens in that development over here. I don't really think that league has too much longer to be playing in, but some of the progression of those guys or continued success has been nice as well.
Damn, I hope I don't repeat what you said because I didn't get a chance to listen to it. But so Max Anderson and Kevin McGonigal are both having great. He's hitting .515 like. So I'll go through the stats real quick for those that are not watching on the audio side, but that are not watching on the visual side. Max Anderson is hitting 515. He's got 4 home runs. So he's got 11. How many hits? 17 hits. And how many? 8 of them are extra base hits. So 4 doubles, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. And what's most impressive to me, if you know anything or you follow Max Anderson, he is a free swinger. He is not somebody that's up there trying to find his. If it's anywhere near the zone, he's attacking. So I don't know if the pitchers are just bad down there, but he's got 13 walks, which is if you follow Max and statistics in the minor leagues, he probably had 11 walks his whole minor league, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he does not take walks. So it's actually very impressive to see him take as many. Now Kevin McGonigal is a little bit more judicious at the plate. He shows a little bit more discernment, but and I don't know, maybe they're pitching around Max at this point, but he's got 13 walks to go along with that. Kevin McGonigal, anybody that's paying attention knows that he's got probably the best hit tool in all of the major leagues right now. I mean, as far as the farm system, he's number 2 overall, depending on who you ask, but he's got 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. I want to say he was player of the week one week as well, but that's what we got going on. I mean, he's hitting 370, and I do feel like the pitchers. I think if you have any value, if you're putting any value towards him, you're saving his arm. So I think that the hitters are a little bit above as far as who goes to Arizona Fall League are certainly a little ahead of what the pitchers. As far as levels are concerned, but yeah, they both look great. And then in addition to that, let me pull up Brad Penny, who's not quite not even close to the expectations and buzz that Max Anderson, Kevin McGonigal, but Brad Penny or Jack Penny.
There was one other name on that list because both those guys, our guys, were plus on the walk to strikeout ratio, as you highlighted. There was only one other name player on that list that did, and I only mention it because we know the name well because he ended up killing us in the last month when we saw him, Nacho Alvarez.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that he's even. It's kind of crazy that he's even there because he spent most of the year with the. Maybe it wasn't most of the year with the Braves, but he spent a good last 2 months.
I said last 2 months, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of crazy that they put him in the Arizona Fall League. But yeah, Jack Penny, he's kind of like his ceiling is more of a, utility type guy. Doesn't hit for much power, but let me go back to his stats real quick. Yeah, 0 home runs, 5 RBIs, 294. It's still crazy as far as on base 510, 834 OPS. But yeah, those are the guys that are representing the Tigers as far as the Arizona Fall League is concerned. And with the amount of offense that you see in these things, it's kind of mind blowing to me that Josue Briseño hit for the Triple Crown. With all the offense, you would think that somebody had higher average, somebody had more home runs, somebody had more RBIs, but he clean sweep the entire thing. It's no wonder that he's at where he's at right now. So, but that's just a little Arizona Fall League. That's a little bit as far as the Arizona Fall League is concerned. I was going to parlay that into something. Oh, I got it. Okay. So, before we get into, because I got some questions as far as Tigers that are on the come up. But before we get to that, what updates do we have as far as the coaches? There's been some news about some coaches that are going to be leaving or could potentially be managers. What do we have as far as that's concerned?
So we did have 2 bench coaches that essentially were not renewed, was the terminology the club used. I think it was first base coach about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and then it was a bench coach hitting coach, recently this week will not be returning to the team. And then as of, I think, last night, it's now speculated that the actual bench coach, AJ Hinch, George Lombard, who's been in the organization for a while now, is in the mix for the Atlanta Braves managerial open position as well.
All right. And you were I think from the very beginning of the year, like, hey, they gotta, you said for a couple of years, even the year before, you were like, they need to change these hitting coaches. Something not right. Like, so not surprised by that, or certainly not like, oh, why would they? Nah, I mean, it was time to move forward. We maxed out as far as our, considering all those things, we were successful, but yeah, I'm very interested to see what direction we go to. There's a lot of former players that play within our era that are looking for head coaching positions, and if we could nab one of them to be our hitting coach, it certainly is. It's certainly going to be appealing visually. It's like, oh, okay, I know Pujols. Oh, I know Miggy. Oh, I know whatever. It's certainly going to be appealing from a optics. Although somebody did say, it's like, hey, Barry Bonds was the hitting coach for the Marlins for 1 year, and it's because, and to me, it's like, when you're that good, it's like, oh yeah, just the natural hand-eye coordination that I was blessed with, yeah, just do that. Like, it's kind of hard to teach somebody that has half the, and this is a major league player, but they don't have, you're the best hitter that ever existed. So it's kind of hard. It's not as easy to coach based upon your own abilities as it is for somebody on their level. And that's just what I think. But what are your thoughts on a high profile Pujols or Cabrera or Barry Bonds, those types of things?
We got a guy that he's in the booth right now. He used to wear the jersey and play with Miggy and those guys. It's Todd Jones. The interesting thing about this is a lot of those hires that you mentioned of some of the big former names and more recently inducted into the Hall of Fame to really cement their playing career, they get hired. It's usually, I see that a lot with the younger managers. Their first hire, maybe their second, third year in, they'll bring one of those guys in because that dynamic works for that reason. AJ's been around for a little while now as a manager. I think bringing a guy like Miggy I'm not saying this is fact. I'm just saying, like, you got guys that are fairly close in age that played around the same time too. I think they overlapped a career for a handful of years, right? Between Miggy and AJ, they definitely played at least 5-6 years at the same time in the majors. But it'd be interesting. But I think a guy like Todd Jones would be a good fit for a young ball club. They can be like, their dads would be like, holy shit, like he was great for like 4 years for us in the 90s, came back, had a great couple of years again, was AL reliever. He's been there, done that, and he's, he understands what it takes from a younger team standpoint. But I'd be fine with it. Why not? It doesn't have to be a nerdy coach in analytics for all your coaching staff. Bring in some personality, maybe a guy like Ozzie Guillen, some guys that I think would have a good influence and, that can do more than just maybe be a personality.
It's funny because I thought you were going to say Andy Dirks. I don't know. You said in the booth, but yeah, Jones is in the booth as well. So, yeah. Somebody with a little bit more stain than Andy Dirks. So, but yeah. So,
I'll say this. Let me throw one more name. I want to throw one more name real quick. Sorry to cut you off. If he does retire this year and he says, okay, I'm done playing, I think that hire is automatically Justin Verlander if he says he's retiring.
Oh man, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, that's
because you look at guys like Clayton Kershaw. I don't think he wants to do anything right away. I think he wants some time away. He's played almost 20 years. And then who's the other pitcher? Scherzer, probably retiring at the end of the year too, but I think he's probably done traveling. He's been on 4 different teams in the last 5 years. Dude's probably wants to go home and chill for a bit before he does any anything next in his baseball related career. But those would be some of the names. If they were open to it immediately, I'd be like, yeah, why not? They got that doll.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Scherzer's crazy. They the way they talk about him is like you're not even allowed to talk to him when he's the day of
He's coaching the World Series.
Yeah. He's crazy. I mean, have you seen his eyes? Like that dude is.
Oh yeah,
you got to be a little off because
he's a permanent rabies.
Yeah. Let's get to. I might as well get a break out the way. But we got a lot more to talk about. So stay tuned. All right, so let's. I got a couple guys that I wanted to get the Arizona Fall League's information out the way. This is it kind of parlays into what I want to talk about right now. But I want to get a feeling from you on some of these players and how they might fit into the fold next year. Now, this is a name that I feel like people have kind of forgotten about, especially with the newcome talent coming in. But a guy like Jace Young, this is somebody that was highly touted. He was ranked not only in the Tigers system very high, but in the major leagues as well. Out of Texas Tech, he came in as a second baseman, moved over to third base when Colt Keith was extended full time, and obviously Gleyber Torres. We went out and signed him, but with guys like Max Anderson and Kevin McGonigal, who appear to be, I mean, if they're not ready now, very soon will be ready. But where do you feel that he is still somebody that has a future with the Detroit Tigers, with the log jam in the middle infield, and with guys like McGonigal and Anderson taking some reps at third base as well?
No, it's a good point. And I think, in Scott Harris's perfect dream, he gets to keep them all. But I think we're at a point where now you got a couple positions where you could improve, whether free agency or you continue this progression that continues to, on its own, close the debut date or debut year, if you will, for some of these guys. Heading into this point last year, we probably would have said 3 years for most of these guys. Maybe Max Anderson or Max Clark, because he was the hotter bat coming in at the end of his rookie year in the minors. We thought he maybe been 2, but now it's kind of flip-flopped. Not that Max Anderson or Clark has cooled off at all, really. These guys are just having a bona fide great year, and I think that means that Jace Young is expendable, and you leave him unprotected for the Rule 5 as well. You go that far to just say, you know what, these guys progressing. There's no reason to, and it's not like McKinstry's been a complete cancer as a statistical player on this team. He's earned his next couple years, in our opinion, at least mine. So there's no real need to have to continue to hold on to a guy like him. I think you try and find maybe a pitching prospect or maybe even first base or center field that might fill a double-A or single-A spot, and you move on.
So, yeah, I mean, Jace Young, he was drafted back in 2022, made his debut, and you look at 2023. I mean, this is a player that has, in parts of 2 seasons, has yet to hit a home run at the major league level. He had 28 home runs in 2023 between 2 different teams. So I think, was that partially an Erie? Let's see here. I mean, it's kind of hard.
Didn't he come over in the Flaherty deal?
No, that's Sweeney.
Oh, Sweeney, yeah, the other one, yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, yeah. So low A, with Lakeland. I don't know.
Yes.
Low A with West Michigan, the Whitecaps, and then double A with Erie. And part of those, 14 and 14. So the potential for powers, I mean, like big power, like this is corner infield power right there. 28 home runs for an entire season. And it's since then dropped off. Obviously 2024, he spent half the year in Detroit, and then 2025, he started the year in Detroit and then never made it back. But yeah, so I mean, if I don't know what he's viewed at I think, potential wise, they're looking at it like, he could still be something, but Tigers fans know I haven't seen that in Detroit. So it's like, so I don't know what his trade value is, but with him being moved over to third base, I don't know if I don't think they have any plans to move him back to second. It's like, I feel I have much more of a vote of confidence with whatever Kevin McGonigal and Max Anderson do than what Jace Young does. And Jace Young's, for him to be a younger guy, he's not the most fleet of foot. He's not like super athletic or anything like that. So, although he does take a lot of walks and he is able to get on base, he's not even a guy that's going to steal a base for you. So I don't know. I've gotten to the point to where I don't believe him anymore. Maybe he could be an interesting, a partial piece along with a couple other guys, to go and get something that's might be more appealing. Maybe a team that's looking for, needs some bats, like a stockpile of bats, but I don't know. He's not better than McKinstry in any way, defensively, offensively, base running, any of that versatility. So yeah, I think that he could be part of a trade package. But another name I was thinking of is Justin Henry Malloy. Where do you see him factoring into the opening day? Obviously, he didn't make initial opening roster. He came back late in the season, and then he didn't play in the playoffs. Like, do you see him? Do you see in Scott Harris's eyes and whoever's eyes? Do you see him being somebody that's a part of the future, Justin Henry Malloy?
I say he has to. I mean, otherwise, what are we doing with him as a front office POV? You know what I mean? You kept calling him up first. He was a first non-pitcher option to come up like 90% of the time.
Was he though?
It wasn't Sweeney. So sorry, that was for Sweeney. Sorry.
Yeah.
The other time it wasn't Sweeney, it was JHM. But they wrote Perez, who also had a good start when he came up. But he fizzled out pretty fast over the last 2 months and did really nothing in the playoffs. So he probably does need a little bit more time down low. And JHM's, he's not 20, 21 years old. He's got he's probably 4 years in the minors in his career. So he did improve in Toledo in the last 3-4 months when he was down there before he came back up late in September. You did a good job highlighting his kind of resurgence of power, driving the ball, driving in runs, doubles. He kind of found that extra base hit spark again. So it's considering that's what made Perez kind of dynamic, and he's just kind of an average fielder, and he's younger. I think it makes perfect sense that Malloy should be in prime position to be that first right-hand option off the bench at worst case, if not splitting time with Carey and Wright, or sometimes, sharing that DH duty with Colt, Torque, or some other combination if AJ continues to use it the way he did this year.
Yeah, I would like to think that he would be that option, the right-handed option off the bench. I think that his lack of defensive versatility is going to hurt him. I think that Jahmai Jones is a lock for it, and he's not a great defensive player either. So I feel like I think that he will eventually, unless he's like the Akil Baddoo, where it's like, if we need an outfielder and everybody's hurt, all right, we know we can bring him up and he's gonna do a serviceable job. But as far as being on the opening roster, I think that they showed a lot about what they value to him last year and not being the one that was called up at the end of the year, not being on the playoff roster. The bats were anemic the entire time, and he still didn't get opportunities. I think that they tell you. I think that the staff shows you exactly what your value is by how they, where Perez, because he is a better defender. He is a switch hitter. They wrote it out with him through and through everything. He's hurt all year.
Yeah.
You said what?
Said no, yeah, they sure shit rode him till the wheels fell off all the way to the end. Yeah,
and he was on one wheel. If it was a 4-wheel vehicle, he had one. But yeah. So I think that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think that Scott Harris wants to hold on to everybody and is just in love with all of his prospects. So he probably doesn't get moved, but I wouldn't be shocked if Malloy and Young were moved, just because it's like, if we can strengthen our pitching staff, if we can strengthen something that or bring back bring back a everyday bat to go in the corner outfield, I wouldn't be mad at that. And that's what we're going to talk. We'll go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that would also depend on if you make a major signing in free agency first. Then that becomes expendable and kind of an inevitable decision outcome after the result of that. But yeah, I guess timing would be kind of important in how the timeline of those events play out as well.
Absolutely, and that kind of parlays into my next topic. And if you're watching on YouTube, you see two players that are pictured here. Let's stop that for a second. And that's for Hunter Greene and Duran. Now, I haven't seen a lot. I haven't seen a lot of stuff for Hunter Greene. I did see a mock draft that we'll talk about, but Duran is somebody. I mean, the Red Sox have a ton of young talent. They have a ton of outfielders in general. They just locked in. What's his name? Who's the guy that they went after? I mean, who's just the young guy that they just signed? They just signed him to a whole bunch of money, but they got a ton of outfielders. But so yeah, Duran looks to possibly be on the move. He had kind of a down year. He was an all-star the year prior, but he's locked in for a couple years. He was previously a pretty good defender from what I remember, but I think that he would be a great addition in a couple different ways to our lineup. But are you familiar? I'm going to pull up his Savant page real quick, but there's definitely a couple of things that are appealing to him, especially if he can get back to the all-star form that he had just a year ago. Any thoughts on Duran and trading him? I mean, trading for him.
Oh, I don't see anything on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, it's loading up. So this was last year. For one, I mean, he sprays the ball all over the outfield. You don't see power to one particular part of the field. He's got good speed. I think he had like 24 stolen bases. Obviously, we didn't steal any bases last year. What else? And I think that, like I said, his hit tool, he's got gap to gap power. I think he was in the top 5 of doubles and triples. So in Comerica Park, that would be, very, valuable because he is athletic. I don't think defensively his metrics were very. Yeah, you see the range isn't very good, but got a strong arm, and he's got good speed. So I don't know, great speed. So I don't know why let's see last year, and I never understood this. I'm like, how do you go from a -2 to 10 the year before? But I would love to see him in center field if he could handle it. But yeah, based on what you're saying, this is the last year's metric. This was an all-star year, but if they moved him to right field and make Karen Carpenter the everyday DH, do you think that moves the needle at all?
Yes, it does. But along with that, they still need another right-hand bat somewhere. They definitely still need a right-hand bat to complement that at least.
Yeah.
Continue down this path, we're going to have like 2 righties at best in the lineup, unless it's like, the bench rotation in there.
Yeah, that's the tricky part is that a lot of the guys that I like, they're all left-handed. I'm just like, what?
Yeah. Which is funny because you go back to our, the days where we had, Guillen and we had Victor and we had a handful of lefties as well. Even though Victor was a switch hitter, he did bat mostly lefty.
Yeah, because the amount of righties you face. But
Yeah.
and just to give you an idea of his contract situation, there's a club option for him in 2026, and then he's got 2 more years of our arbitration, and so he's got control up into 2029. So if we were to trade for him, you obviously pick up that option in 2026, and then you don't have to worry about him hitting free agency until 2029. So kind of a late bloomer, obviously, because he's already 29 years old, but not too far removed from, all-star success. So,
who would you be sending their way?
So, I mean, I think Boston is looking. I don't think they need any outfielders or maybe they probably would. That's tricky because I think they would want pitchers, and we don't really have that. So
we're going to really want to give up,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we pitching.
I don't
is
see them
not really,
asking for Jack Flaherty's $20 million deal if he opts in.
hell no, nah, yeah, that wouldn't make any sense at all. So yeah, that's really the tricky part with him. The second mock trade that I want to talk about, and I think there's more options for us to throw at them. But yeah, so that's Jarren Duran. Yeah, I mean, I like certain things about him. Certainly, if he can play outfield, he'd be perfect.
I know who. It's one of your 2 catchers down below. Not on the 26 man. It's the other 2 that we talked about the other week. They both kind of play the same combo catcher first base position here. Briseño and who's the other one? Lorenzo,
yeah, and then we got Eduardo Valencia too.
Valencia,
Yeah, he's had a great year last. So I mean,
I think a 1-for-1 trade for that would be very logical. I think that could be
like
if we were to get Duran. I think that would be. I think they would take the straight up 1 prospect, knowing that sure we got team control, but they're getting the same thing, but for more years and at a position where they just unloaded Devers. And I know they've had Kenley Jansen in a trade the other year from Toronto. Remember last year, not this season, but in 2024, he became the first player to play for both teams in the same game because the rainout happened, the resumption after the trade deadline. So I know that from a catching standpoint, I don't think they're really 100% locked in, but I'm sure the power they produce would be attractive for that ballpark at Fenway.
Well, we know that teams have already been interested in Briseño. I think Pittsburgh was, but it was for Bednar, which, yeah, I think that would have been a tough pill to swallow. But Jarren Duran is at least an everyday player that has some impact. I even his his persona kind of seems like he would fit good in Detroit. Like he's a little rougher around the edges. He's got that.
Yeah.
It's
gritty.
yeah. It just seems like, I mean, I don't even know the guy, but he just seems like he's kind of like you hate to play against him, but you love him when he's on your team. So,
yeah.
So yeah. But the next guy is Hunter Greene, who's obviously pictured as well. And here is the mock draft. I couldn't find on Twitter where it was, but so the mock draft is Hunter Greene for Justin Henry Malloy, Wenzel Perez, and Max Anderson. Obviously Cincinnati needs bats. Obviously Cincinnati needs bats. Justin Henry Malloy is not an everyday major league player, but he's got experience. They know that there's less of his ceiling isn't high, but he has a decent floor, I think, because he's got meaningful at bats at the major league level. He's played in the playoffs and stuff like that. Wenzel Perez is somebody that is a borderline everyday player. He's shown potential to be a bona fide starter. He's had sparks where it's like, oh no, we're never getting rid of Wenzel Perez, but he's also gone. He bottomed out this year, obviously, but they need bats in any way that they can get them. They're young. These guys are young. These guys have these are guys that they don't have to worry about hitting free agency. They're cheap. Obviously, like Cincinnati loves cheap players. And then I think that the icing on the cake would be Max Anderson. Obviously, he's on fire in Arizona. He was quiet the year before, but had an amazing year. He got all the way to AAA and kept that success going. So I think that would be the most appealing for them. And as far as on the Detroit side of things, we kind of restart that window. If we end up trading Skubal, and swapping out for some more, for some prospects and stuff of that nature, we know that with Hunter Greene, we have tons of years of control. I'll pull up his contract. He's a bona fide ace when he's healthy. He was an all-star 2 years ago. He was injured quite a bit last year, but yeah, another all-star named Greene on the team. So what are your I saw you kind of cringe when you saw Max Anderson on there, but what are your thoughts on everything, all things considered?
Oh man, oh boy. I hope this would be after whatever happens with Skubal. It would have to be. If it's not, I would be like, I would be dumbfounded. This is the kind of trade that I talked about at the top of the show that could have a negative trajectory impact going forward. So if it's after the result of trading Skubal, then I think it's worth the price of a Max Anderson, because like you said, now at that point you're restocked again, and maybe you even catch a power third hitting bat back your way too. That comes back in one of those two trades collectively, that really puts you in a spot of good depth, some more quality, balanced power throughout the lineup. And like you said, you've reset your pitching staff, but to a little bit younger of an age point. And now you've got Reese Olson coming back and Jackson Jobe, and this core is now suddenly, early to mid 20s. And you could see this being the core for the next 5 years with the non-pitching core that they've built the last 2 or 3 years. So I think it'd be worth the price if that's done after a Skubal trade.
Yeah. So this is, and the most important part about this, obviously you're thinking like, oh, why would why you eliminate the fact, you eliminate having to pay the big dollars that Skubal is asking for with a much younger player. Now and I was watching the talking heads for Cincinnati, and they're like, why? Like, with the amount of time that they have, they have him at a very team friendly deal for a very cheap team that needs, they would die to have Ellie De La Cruz under a contract like this. So as you can see, this is like the Cole Keith situation where they bought out the many years of arbitration for some decent money, I guess, but they ultimately won in this situation. 6 years, $53 million. That's under 10, right? 6 times 10 would be 60. So it's 9. And he's not a free agent until 2030. And it's a club option in 2020, 2029. If by that point he's not as good anymore, they can opt out and let him go. But they're gonna want some prospects. They're gonna want some ready now, maybe ready a little bit later type guys, which is why you got a mix of Wenzel Perez, Malloy, and shit. And Anderson's probably ready too. So, but yeah, like I said, the Cincinnati fan base is kind of like, why we got a guy long term for cheap, and he's already a star. Why will we get rid of him? But if they can if they can bolster, they went to the playoffs this year. Maybe in their head they're thinking, oh, we got a Wenzel Perez, a Malloy. Now we got some power, man. Now we got some pop in our lineup, and we got a Max Anderson who could be. Who knows where he could be when it's all said and done. Right. So kind of appealing for both sides. Might be worth the gamble. I've kind of, fallen in love with Max Anderson as of lately. So it would be tough to see him go, but to bring him in, So you said so. If so, what
And
about
I'm
if?
going to add one thing to it too. I'm going to add one thing to it. And in terms of the value, like like this front office likes to squeeze every bit out of, I think you go one step further. You make this a sign and trade. You extend him 3 years, 25 mil a year on top of what he's on right now. Now you've got him for what, 7 years, and you're not paying him more than 25 million a year, and you're going to get him coming off that extension that you offer. He's going to be 32 at the end of his 31st, 32nd year. And I think at that point, anything's up, but you really solidify someone at the top of your lineup for the next 7 years at a very good team friendly deal. And he's frankly getting a good extension after that $21 million option year to just give him 25 mil for the next 3 years. I don't see reason why he wouldn't accept that unless he really thinks he's going to become, the best pitcher. But if we trade Skubal to an AL team, it don't matter. He's going to win most Cy Youngs until, he throws his arm out of his socket. So,
and it's funny you say that because there was a list of players that hit 100 miles per hour or the youngest players to hit 100, and he was like 17 throwing 101. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, if you lock, especially if you lock in Greene with that type of deal, I say you keep Skubal, and go Greene, Skubal at the top, and if Skubal leaves, he leaves. You got two aces, two bona fide aces at the top, and you push for the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. You still need that bat, but I think that the pill of swallowing the pill of losing Skubal for nothing is a little bit more worthwhile, knowing that you got Greene locked in forever, basically. But what do you think?
I don't see them together at the same time. I think if you don't trade Skubal this winter, you're going to lose on the trade deadline. You're going to, whatever value you have right now, it is his peak because it's going to be inevitable in the next couple weeks here after
now. Yeah,
back-to-back Cy Youngs. This is his peak value right here, right now, this offseason. His return is never going to be as big unless this was happening at 25 years old, where he'd be looking at maybe 10 years of, $500-600 million. But that's a different, story. But we're not on that timeline. But I just don't see that happening. I mean, you would probably lose. I mean, I'm being arbitrary about it. You're probably going to lose maybe 30% of what you would want. So I know we talked initially trades like 2 weeks ago. And my combo was 4 total prospects and MLB ready guys. Now you might get lucky to get 3 at the trade deadline, and you may not get on 2 top 10s. You might only get 1. So you got to think of like, okay, how much do you want to maximize this? Because they can't.
I think you got to err. I think you got to err on the side of caution. You look at we're looking at these prospects. We looked at the Mets mock trade, and it's like, oh, okay, this is pretty appealing. But it's like, it's not going to be as good. It's never as good as it looks. I feel like you look at the Corbin Burns trade. They got Ortiz and some guy that never made the. I don't know if you're familiar with Ortiz. He plays for the Brewers now, but I mean, wasn't great. He's not great, that great of a player. And then Burns was pretty damn good. I mean, he doesn't have the accolades of what a Skubal had, but I don't know. Those trades never come out as good as you would hope. So,
well, Milwaukee does a good job of doing it. They're kind of we've kind of stepped into their realm of being more of like a mid-budget team, because we're not low. We really aren't. I'd say we're mid-budget, respectively. But the Brewers have done a good job of turning over their young pitching staff. Every 4 or 5 years they trade, Johnny Peralta, Corbin Burns. These guys were all Cy Young candidates at one point or another during their tenure from Milwaukee. And they don't spend a big, the Yelich contract is what's kicking them in the ass right now, but that's kind of besides the point. But they don't spend too much else anyway. So, but they do a good job of producing those pitching talents, and they keep that they keep winning. It's either them or the Cubs in the NL Central every year. And we joke about it. The Brewers blow it in the playoffs yet again, but there they are in the playoffs, damn near 4 to 5 years or 3 out of 4 years, and it works. I think if you're trying to be consistent like that, you need to trade Skubal this winter. It has to happen. But that's kind of getting besides the really big picture of the of that. But you know, who can say no to both those guys in the same rotation? So
Man, I mean, you almost don't need any more bats if you
yeah.
especially if McGonagall and some of those guys pan out. You know Scott here or Illich's cheap ass would salivate at the idea of being like, oh yeah, we don't need to spend some money. We'll just pay this 19-year-old $1 million and he'll be an all-star. But
Yeah, he's got that MJ Gatorade secret stuff to share around the clubhouse.
Right. Let's get to the last break and talk free agency. Okay, so we are at the 46-minute mark. I don't know how deep you want to dive into it. We spent a decent amount of time on those trades, but I did if you want to, we can kind of touch on free agency a little bit. I actually have access to the what is this? Jim Bowden just did a piece on the in the Athletic for the top 50 free agents, and he has projected salaries for all of those players, which is interesting to kind of see what he thinks that these guys will go for on the open market. I already did this. Double up. That's scary. Maybe I don't have to actually share the screen, but because I wrote down a couple of these guys. But so okay, but yeah, so he did a projection of what these players what might be asking for, and he ranked them, and so I where do I start? So okay, so obviously, a lot of who that they said the Tigers would be interested in, is like basically a big bat in the in the middle of the lineup, and obviously some pitchers as well, some starting pitchers, possibly the predecessor to Scooble types, depending on where they're ranked at or whatever, but so one guy that I'm not seeing a lot about, and it's probably just because he just kind of established himself in the major leagues, is Ryan O'Hearn. He played his last few years. I mean, he was in the Kansas City Royals system for quite some time, but he didn't kind of get his feet planted until he got to Baltimore, and then he was then flipped for some prospects to San Diego. But what's appealing to me about Ryan O'Hearn, unfortunately, like everybody else that I like, he's left-handed. He plays mostly first base, but he is able to play some corner outfield. He actually plays some pretty good defense at first base. But for me, what's appealing is that he is a high, runners and scoring position guy. He's got good splits for his lefties and righties, and he's a plus defender at first base, which obviously the analytics don't like Spencer Torkelson. So he would, he's a guy that could play some DH, or you could throw him in at first base for better defense, and Torque could play, could play DH. But what are your thoughts on bringing another lefty? He's also 32 years old, so he will be the projected salary is 1 year, $10 million. So not a major investment, but you see it hit 281, 366 on base. So like, I mean, you see how often he walks and stuff like that. I mean, I like him in a couple of different aspects. What are your thoughts on Ryan O'Hearn?
Yeah, no, he had a nice year in Baltimore. Didn't do too much in Kansas City, as you alluded to. I'm not really overly impressed, and it's really not in a position of need anywhere that he does play, primary or secondarily otherwise. I think you're set on, if you want to give Torque another, year beyond, what's he got, one more year team control. If you were to give him a 1-year extension for like $5 million or whatever, something, add on to that, I think it's fine. And you kind of touch and go with him from there. Those factors, left-handed hitter, plays outfield where we already have some left-handed power.
Sure.
It's not like Torkelson's a bottom 3 AL first base defender. Yeah, some wonky times. But overall, it's not so bad that he has to be relegated to DH only. I'm not over. It doesn't really move the needle for me. I think that $10 million would be better spent towards a position of need. Let's say an everyday hitting third baseman. If we're going to try and offer like a 2 or 3 year deal to a free agent at third base versus someone either at first or corner outfield.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you could get a Bregman and you could get a Suarez, by all means, you definitely bypassing a Ryan Hearn. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of, or just a lot of the talking heads as far as baseball is concerned. They're like, well, I mean, they won't even pay Scooble, so are they really about to spend all this money on a high end guy like a Schwarber or something like that? So I'm just kind of like, Ryan O'Hearn for $10 million to play DH and to not strictly have to play for DH. If you need him to play first, you need him to play corner outfield, he can. But he gets on base. He's a contact guy, and I feel like he's although he's 32 years old and he's kind of a late bloomer, I feel like he's kind of ascending. And if you need somebody to bridge until you figure out what Wenceel Perez, what Parker can do, if you want Malloy to be on your team moving forward, I think he's a decent bridge guy. I know you're not about the bridge, but Scott Harris loves these prospects too much. He's waiting for all of them to blossom so he can pay them under $10 million for the next 5 years. So I don't know. He seems realistic and he seems to be fit. I think that I would have rather had Ryan O'Hearn hitting than Wenceel Perez. I know that for damn sure. So, but
that's in hindsight, though.
Yeah, I mean, we got to find somebody to replace that Perez, Vierling. We know Carpenter can play corner outfield, but we need another big bat that gets on base. What was his on base? 384, something like that. 364. That's the only guy in our lineup that would have been better than that is Gleyber Torres. Other than that, nobody got on base at that clip.
I got to throw the curveball in there. We also have to keep in mind that, you alluded to maybe a month ago too, right around the time when we exited the playoffs, that, there's going to be some guys that we're going to have to protect and bring onto the 40-man against the Rule 5. So we're going to have to keep some spots open on the 40-man if that's going to be the case too. So this is why being a Scott Harris shoes is not all, cut and dry, easy peasy business. But yeah, I mean,
I'm curious to see who they protect because I wonder when that list is coming out. But
it's got to be coming out before free agency really hits. Otherwise, because that can really, that can change your position on what you really maybe want to go after in the offseason, truly in terms of the open market compared to just the Rule 5.
I think you're going to see a lot of these guys that have been around for a while be offered, like, if you want a minor league contract, sure, but you're going to see some changes. Like Ibanez can't be around. I would like to think
the minor league signings. Meet Nito. Thomas Nito signed a minor league deal to stay. So I thought that was I think that's kind of be one of it's going to go under the radar, but we've talked about it this whole year. Even when we got him in the spring, the dude was just hitting the ball all over the park. Wasn't much for singles, but now it's like, okay, now
you can tell they like him. You could just kind of see from when he was in the play, when he was around during the playoffs and hanging out with Montero and Baez and Torres. It's like he fit right in there.
And he played with the Mets for a handful of years, so he's played in some big situations.
He was either he either won a Gold Glove or he was a candidate for Gold Glove. So
Yeah, he's played under some big pressure, so this is not really anything new to him, which is nice. And then, again, trickle down effect. Now you've got Lorenzo and Briseño. Now you've got 5 legitimate catchers, all within major league potential of making it up there. So I think that's
and Eduardo, I think they signed. What do they? I want to say they mentioned Eduardo Valencia, because he's somebody that I'm just like, I need to see what is this guy like. Like maybe they just don't really. Maybe they just haven't bought into what he can do. He's like 26 years old. Maybe they have no intentions on him doing anything. But that guy tore the cover off the ball this year. So I don't know. That's another catcher / first baseman that I don't know. I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to get moved. It's a good problem to have just too many prospects, but
I think this is going to be a very busy offseason for them. I don't mean just for the primary parent club. This AA on up, there's going to be some new faces across those 3 levels for sure. I feel like if this is done right, I think this whole collective group is going to look a little bit different, but for the better.
And this is the profile of Eduardo Valencia. He just kind of came out of nowhere at Erie, worked his way up to AAA. But you look at, like, I don't know who runs the prospect savant page, but you look at the prospect score. I mean, they still, even though he's a little bit older, they view him as being a very promising prospect right now. I mean, you look at the numbers; he's improved a lot over the years. So I don't know. I would have loved to see him in Arizona, but I'm sure they got to be very intentional with those selections. I mean, they don't do that for nothing. You saw Josue, and a couple years ago, Jace Young, when he was just starting out when he was just getting his feet wet at third base, that's where he got his first look, was in Arizona. So, they're very selective with who they send there. And you're playing with a lot of elite players. So I don't know. Somebody's got to be on the move. You got a lot of prospects, and they all can't be on the 40-man because you got a lot of guys that you like already. So got to do something with them. And you don't want them. The Rule 5, you don't get any compensation for that. They just leave, right?
Yeah. You might get some like mid-level exception, but it's not going to knock your socks off kind of thing. No, they do give something, but spicy take here. Let's say do you think he'll get a non-roster invite spring training? You would think after this year that he had down in Toledo, like he'd probably be worth bringing up for maybe the couple weeks that some of the other guys get that same invitation, in your opinion?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not I've never seen him play in person. I don't know if whatever, but there's got to be some curiosity. Like, so is he really that good? Or like, I mean, he was great the entire year. There was no points of the season where he kind of tapered off. I mean, he had an amazing year. And
so let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Let's say he gets off to, let's say he just absolutely, he takes it by surprise in the spring and he starts producing similar to what we're seeing here, and Torkelson does not. Is Torkelson even on the 26th man come opening day? And you go with this Valencia kid who right-hand power. Just saying. Yeah, I would think an output like that in the spring is worth the talk.
I mean, I think that Torkelson has given himself has earned enough credit to where, I mean, that dude has hit 30 home runs twice now. Like, and he's a homegrown guy. He's a locker room guy. He won like nice guy of the year for the team. Like,
nice guys don't win playoff games.
Oh, for sure. But I feel like he's earned enough. Credit to where Eduardo Valencia, a guy that they drafted at 18 years old, it would be crazy.
I'm I'm just saying too, the other side of this is if you hoard too many of these guys, you hold on for them for too long, you're going to stunt some of them. And then to the point of like this, it's like, well,
that's why you got to trade them. You got to, if
Yeah.
you can get some value. I mean, look at this guy's year. 24 home runs and 95 RBIs. This guy hit for average 311. Hit for the cycle this year. I think he had a 2 home run game this year as well. 2 or 3 home run. I mean, this guy tore it up, and he's become a better. He's having better at bats too. Like he's not, he's up there taking his walks too. So, yeah, he was drafted.
Or maybe you think the market's good enough and Torkelson's worth being traded in order to create that spot. Just saying. That would bring I would say in terms of keeping the emphasis of the front office's POV as value, maybe if Torkelson's highest value is never going to be better than now, then you do trade him for a prospect back and you bring Valencia up full time and you say, all right, hand you the keys for the next couple of years here. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't know because he's somebody. It's hard to find a lot of information on these prospects, but like, it's not like we even got a blurb of like Scott Harris saying like, oh yeah, I like what the guy's doing. Like they've said nothing about this guy. I know that he's a bat first guy. If he was like a world renowned Gold Glove type first baseman, it'd be more of a conversation. But I mean, the bat could carry you, but he's also only done it 1 year. Now, granted, 24 home runs, 95 RBIs. How much more do I got to do? But I don't know. I just can't wait to see him. He's definitely got to get an invite to the spring training team to see if he can continue that success. Because, like I said, even if he's average, even if he's just promoting himself to somebody else. Like a Reds, like a team that needs bats, the Pirates, they need just as many bats as they can have. Hey, this guy might be ready. He's not he's 25. He'll be 26 when the season starts. So like he's ready to play now. So yeah, I feel like these are the type of guys that you could see be in those deals to get $100 grand, because I think the Reds are kind of have a surplus of pitchers, so like they can afford to part ways with him. But yeah, they're gonna want some young bats, because one thing we don't have that bona fide superstar bat, but we got Malloys, Perez's, Vierlings, Meadows. If you like the premium position, good defensive player, we got some guys that we can part with and not lose too much sleep about it. We got too many. We got Briseño, like you said. We got, not to cut your wisdom, we got Briseño. We got Lorenzo. So we got first baseman / catchers. And obviously Dingler is our bona fide for the future, for the foreseeable future. So we got some guys that we can move off on. But what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, we have a lot of B-level tier hitters, looking for that extra A hitter to get us over the hump. Yeah,
which is why it would be beautiful. And this goes into what we're going to talk about in the next show, because we didn't even get into free agency in the least bit outside of Ryan O'Hearn, which is just ridiculous in itself. But yeah, the Cody Bellingers, the Schwarbers, those type of guys would send our lineups to the moon. But who's to say whether we'll even get a crack at any of those guys? So, but we're going to go into more detail next time about free agency, which is cool because the World Series is ending this weekend, and so we haven't even got into, only just low level signings are happening right now, like Tomas Nido and Troy Watson, I think his name was. Those are minor league level guys. So we got time, but yeah. Any other news that you want to talk about before we get up out of here?
Yeah, Game 7 tonight, World Series. It is Shohei, the two-way wonder, against Mad Max, what potentially could be his last game in the major leagues will actually pitch for the second time this World Series. A cool note, like heading into the series, was it was a guaranteed ring for either Kershaw or Scherzer, who will have won World Series rings, I think 5 out of the last 6 years in the Major League World Series, which is kind of wild in itself. So personally, I predicted Jays in 7 before the series started, so that's what I'm sticking with. It'll be cool to see Vladdy get it, and then it'll be really interesting heading in the offseason, because I know we didn't touch on it either, but one potential trade we've been linked to is for Bichette. So that would be interesting to see how that would play out in terms of his value if the Jays were to come through tonight at the Rogers Center.
My bad. My bad. Sorry, y'all. So get Game 7, Dodgers, Blue Jays. Hopefully, what I was gonna say was talking about the payroll and how it would be beautiful. You look at the payroll between the two. You got guys. Trader Savage is making $52,000. Like, that is insane. So for him to have an opportunity to be one of the pivotal parts of of a World Series champion, World Series championship would be kind of insane, especially with everybody, crying and complaining about the LA Dodgers and how they just went and got everybody. So, but yeah, sorry, I got a phone call I got to get to, but let's wrap things up.
Who are you taking?
I'm going with the Jays. I hope it's the Jays. Yeah. But we got to wrap it up real quick because I got to finish this phone call. Please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Corner to Copa on YouTube. We're obviously are over on Bleachers and Speakers as well. And we'll be back to talk in more detail. We'll be able to, recap the World Series, talk about free agency and winter meetings in more detail. But yeah, let's get up out of here so I can handle this biz.
Get your lick back. If a nugget gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get your lick.